You might wonder how that you can go on a spiritual awakening journey, or how that you can begin having a spiritual awakening if you feel like you haven't had one yet. So this is actually very, very simple, believe it or not. So you're starting your spiritual awakening journey simply by wanting to go on a spiritual awakening journey. So you're agreeing with a higher aspect of yourself that you want to get to know who you really are in this world, in this reality, and that you're open to the experiences that you're going to have when you say yes to yourself. So your spiritual awakening journey starts when you say yes to you. When you say yes to yourself, you begin to feel guided to places and people and situations that will teach you so much about yourself. And you will begin to have psychic experiences. You will begin to open up to that part of yourself and have all of these wonderful experiences. And some of them are a little scary and difficult to understand or comprehend, but that is all part of the learning journey of your spiritual awakening. Saying consciously yes to that journey is like an agreement you make with your higher self or God, saying that you actually really want to do this and you actually really want to become highly conscious and aware of yourself and your world that you live in. So when you say yes, don't be surprised if you begin to get back memories from not just your childhood, but memories of you from a different lifetime in a different place where you once lived. This could be another star, a planet somewhere, and you're going to start to realize that you begin to meet people that you once knew in a different lifetime on a different planet, and you'll meet maybe your sister or your parents you once had, or other souls that really are connected with you on a grander scheme of this reality. One of the things I found really, really fascinating was when I remembering when I was like 20 years ago, so I was maybe 18 or so, more than 20 years ago, to be honest. But when I remembered having had tuned into a life that I once had a long, long time ago, I would say about 4,500 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia in a city called Ur. And the interesting thing is that I had in this, like within the last 5 years, met a person who came from not that specific area, a little bit further away from that, but who also had a life there together with me at that time. So I realized we had a life together before 4,500 years ago, and it goes even beyond that. I remember having had experiences with this specific soul in a completely different solar system, in a completely different place of this universe. And this is quite fantastic when you begin to remember these things. But when you remember these things, if you go really that far, because not everybody goes that far, because not everybody must or has to, but if you do go that far back, remember to just observe those experiences and those memories, because if you are getting too caught up in it or too hung up about it, you may actually even take yourself a little bit off your journey, or you kind of delay it or take detours. Sometimes I see a lot of starseeds getting really, really hung up on their need to remember who they were before this life, as in what type of star seed that they were in what kind of planet they lived and all that. And though it is very interesting to find some answers to that, it can really lead to being too hung up and too detoured on that specific journey, because you are here right now for this specific life that you're living right now. And when you're looking for your purpose, it's actually about remembering your purpose, not looking for it or finding it. But your purpose has everything to do with your upbringing, the life that you had here, the things that you may not remember, and the things that you haven't yet clued into. So your purpose is always present. And your purpose usually has very little to do with being or living on a different planet in a different lifetime. However, some of the purposes in those past lifetimes may be somehow connected with the purpose that you have here now. But you have to also remember, as souls, we want different experiences, because that is the point of having all these different lives, is to have different experiences and bringing them home to God, right? And God really is this place where we go to before and after this life. And actually, we are also right now in this moment, in this life reality, we are still inside of God. We're never really separate from God. But when we are born in a physical incarnation or manifestation, it seems as if we are separate, because we have the sensation of everything being separate from us. So one thing to take away from this maybe is to remember that you are never separate from God. You're never separate from the love of God. You're never separate from your truest self. It's just that we forget, we get amnesia, we don't remember things. It's hard to recall stuff, especially because on this planet there's so much distraction, there's so much toxins and poisons, that can somehow keep us completely dissociated. There's so much trauma, right, that keeps us dissociated. And so we don't always remember these things or are aware of these things. However, I do believe that even if you're not aware or don't remember, it does not mean that you're not living your life aligned with your highest potential or your purpose. It just means that maybe you weren't meant to be aware like that, or remember past lives, or remember all of your trauma, or remember the future, or whatever. But for some of us it is, and some of us have these experiences. And so we are all different. And the point of being different is to have different experiences that we can bring home to God.